Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
I think the movie bombed because it's bad. Those CGI little people.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
Controversy has swirled around Gal Gadot's new movie, also starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White. A lot of people don't like her. A lot of people don't like her either. She's got a big mouth. She talked trash about the original movie.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
Oh my God.
And I can only hope.
What does that mean?
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
But these guys at Disney, they're not that bright, they're not that smart, and we see that because they can't come up with any new IP. Why not write some new movies? You guys sit around, you have billions of dollars, they keep going back and rewriting the classics.
I came back, the losses were around $4 billion a year.
Well, I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting maybe in the history of the film industry. Has there been a film with worse casting than this? And I don't just mean the Snow White actress. Obviously, she's terrible, but both of them.
Now you have Rachel Zegler thinking, oh, that 1937 movie, that's just, oh, it's tacky, it's weird, we're going to change all.
Let's dive into how Rachel Zegler and Disney completely botched the Snow White remake, which has been ruthlessly torn apart by Megyn Kelly and the rest of the world. But first, let's set the scene. Once upon a time, the massive entertainment empire, better known as the House of Mouse, decided to remake one of its oldest classics, Snow White. Yeah, the animated movie that feels like it came out in the prehistoric era. Honestly, this should have been a guaranteed box office hit. Hire a talented young actress, put her in that iconic dress, sprinkle in some flashy CGI creatures, and just wait for the cash to roll in. But instead, Disney made a choice that shocked everyone by casting a controversial lead, someone who managed to annoy just about every Disney fan before the first trailer even dropped. Let's call her the actress who shall not be named lovingly. Fine, it's Rachel Zegler. The backlash against Rachel Zegler turned around faster than a driver realizing they're on a one-way street. She suddenly appeared in multiple interviews, tearfully talking about how much Snow White meant to her, how she admired the character's innocence and courage, and how thrilled she was to carry on the iconic legacy.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
But things took a major nosedive when Snow White finally stumbled into theaters, looking less like a timeless fairy tale and more like a low-budget disaster you'd find on a streaming service at 3 a.m. Let's just say, if you thought a single bite of a poisoned apple was tough, wait until you see how a star's comments can completely crash a big-budget production. Let's rewind and watch this epic disaster unfold. News broke that Rachel Zegler, fresh off her role in a musical that apparently didn't sparkle enough for her, was going to be the new Snow White. At first, fans thought, all right, she can sing and dance, great pick. But then, in record time, she declared the 1937 Snow White to be boring, outdated, and basically a relic that had no place in today's world. The reaction? Immediate.
Now for Disney, as you probably remember, all of this publicity, the Zegler interviews, the Daily Mail leak, caused a lot of unexpected, for them anyway, pre-production problems. People weren't supposed to see and understand just how unwatchable the new Snow White was going to be. It was supposed to be, kind of a surprise, but now there was no hiding it.
Disney fans were like, hold up, did she really just trash the beloved classic that built this entire company? The speed with which she backpedaled could have earned her an Olympic gold medal. As she sobbed about her newfound love for the original, viewers were either rolling their eyes or clutching their popcorn in disbelief. It was about as convincing as an email telling you you've won a free yacht. Meanwhile, the House of Mouse trudged on, desperately trying to drum up excitement for the film with trailers, teasers, and countless marketing stunts. But the damage, already done. Social media exploded with memes, sarcastic one-liners, and jabs comparing the new Snow White to everything from a low-budget knockoff to a prime example of how to completely alienate the Disney fanbase in record time. As if the Snow White mess wasn't enough, Rachel Zegler reminded everyone that she'd also openly complained about her West Side Story role. Yes, the very gig that was supposed to catapult her into Hollywood stardom. She made it sound like starring in a lavish musical directed by a legendary filmmaker was the absolute worst job in the world. Because of course, complaining about your big break is totally the way to win over fans, right? By now, even people who had never heard of her were starting to raise eyebrows.
This is truly, like, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go.
Hold up. She's bashing the film that made her famous and the iconic project that's supposed to launch her into stardom. Something just didn't add up. Doubts grew, and the PR disaster kept gaining momentum, leaving a trail of annoyed audiences, eye rolls, and a string of bad headlines behind it. That alone would have been a spectacle, watching someone single-handedly deflate their own rising star. But then came the final blow, the actual release of the Snow White remake. Buckle up, because this is where the story cements itself in the Hall of Fame for box office disasters. Despite all the backlash, Disney pushed forward, probably thinking, hey, controversy puts people in seats, right? Wrong. When the film finally hit theaters, the reviews were ruthless. The audience didn't care. And the general reaction? We told you this was coming. According to multiple reports, the studio lost millions. So much that if you stacked the cash, it might just reach the top of Cinderella's castle. Even Disney's most devoted fans barely reacted, or worse, made a point to skip this one. Instead of families eagerly lining up in princess costumes, theaters sat half empty, with only the crickets in the back row offering a round of applause. It was as if the real magic spell had been cast, not on the screen, but on the audience's wallets, keeping them tightly shut. And for the few brave enough to actually watch it, complaints flooded in about everything from the bizarre tone to the questionable creative choices that veered so far from the original, it barely resembled anything people recognized. Amidst all the chaos, the film's star looked like she'd rather be anywhere but there. Any hopes of this being a victorious Disney hit were shattered, left to gather dust next to piles of unsold merchandise and clearance bin plush dwarfs. The disaster was so massive, it turned into an instant Hollywood cautionary tale.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
Never hire someone who bashes your classic and your brand before the film even hits theaters. If that's not the most obvious lesson of the decade, I don't know what is. Now, with the film officially branded a flop and Disney counting its losses, the rumor mill is spinning out of control. Word on the street? There are whispers about huge layoffs, reshuffled executive teams, and future remakes quietly getting scrapped. And some fans are furious that the original dwarfs were replaced by CGI creations. Let's just say, the real dwarfs were not happy about that. So what's the takeaway from this messy Snow White saga? Maybe it's this. If you're signing on for a beloved remake, do your research. And if you have critiques, maybe wait until the movie's been out for at least a decade before airing them. Or maybe it's that a little self-awareness goes a long way in Hollywood, where the real power lies with the fans. Because no matter how massive a studio is, alienating your core audience is basically the entertainment equivalent of stepping on a rake over and over again.
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
If there's any silver lining, it's that the rest of us got a front row seat to a perfect lesson in what not to do. Disrespecting a classic, botching the marketing, and casting someone who seemed wildly out of place. So no, this version of Snow White didn't get a magical ending.
But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures. And then the picture of the magical creatures leaked online, and everyone just had an absolute blast laughing at it. So the magical creatures are here in the movie. The CGI dwarfs are here in the movie. It works to a degree, but it's certainly going to be a financial hit for Disney, that's for sure.
So just how bad? The movie debuted in the United States at #1 with $43 million. Decent, but not a blockbuster. And far below projections. Internationally, a similar story. Overseas, Snow White took in $44.3 million in its opening weekend, bringing the total to just $87.3 million, with a budget of around $209 million. That means Snow White is destined to be one of the biggest bombs in Disney history. It will not recoup.
studio, if you're a director, if you're a casting director, you've got to think twice or three times before hiring her. Listen, she's talented, she's attractive, she's got skill, but there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work.
It's just a total nightmare for the studios. So now she's trying to sell like, oh, I love Snow White. I love everything about the whole story. Here she is more recently trying to change the messaging. This is actually Wednesday.
So much for being here. And to see this is really emotional for me, so I'm going to try to not do that. I love her, and her superpower is her heart. It's nothing supernatural. It's something that all of us have. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy Snow White. Thank you, guys.
Just a wrecked carriage, a mountain of lost cash, and a leading lady who might be spending a long time brushing up on career advice. What do you think was the biggest mistake? Rachel Zegler's attitude, Disney's creative choices, or the whole project from the start? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Hollywood deep dives.